good friends with Steve and Holly, you and your husband.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Thanks for fitting it in your busy schedule.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you thinking of me.
Yeah. So we were just talking before the show. I think I've known you 10 or 11 years roughly. Where did you grow up? I actually don't know.
Yeah, where did you grow up?
My husband and I both grew up in a small town on the coast called Port Lavaca.
Yes, I know we're good fishing.
Yes, about 11,000 people there. Probably the same population now as it was then. And it's Port O'Connor is a little more popular. Mm-hmm. So it's in the same county, Calhoun County. Sand crabs, go crabs. Yeah.
I went to high school in Corpus with Corpus Christi, right around there. So, yeah, and down. I was born in the valley, so
okay.
I know Port Lavaca very well. So, is that where you met Brandon?
Yes, we didn't meet until I was 17, but he actually lived right down the street from me.
When you were growing up?
Yes, we had no idea. So he's 4 years older than me, and by the time I got into high school, he had already left. I like to tease him about that because the seniors in his class totally ruined it for my class. They closed campus for lunch on my class because his class was so wild. And I was so looking forward to open campus and walking over to McDonald's for lunch. Yeah, so the whole time I was there, we had a closed lunch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, him and I were in up in Waco the other day, and he was telling me about some of his wilder, younger days. And he was a little bit of a wild man.
He was.
Yeah,
what were you like as a kid?
I was so good. My dad worked for the sheriff's department, and my mom was a nurse, and she worked nights, so there was always someone home constantly. Yeah. And on top of that, Dad knew everything that was going on, So, it was just better for me to be home when I was supposed to be home and be doing what I was supposed to be doing.
When you were talking, before we started recording, we were talking about microphones and how close, and you mentioned choir. Were you in choir when you were younger?
Yes, that was one of my electives in high school.
Did you have a passion for it?
I loved it. I wasn't great at it, but I loved choir. I loved music, and I play a little bit of piano. So, I don't know. Yeah, it was a fun elective.
Is that what did you want to do when you left high school?
Oh, okay. So I had this whole plan that didn't turn out at all.
That's life.
Right. I was going to be a teacher, which I did do. And then I was going to eventually get my doctorate and run for superintendency.
Oh, wow.
And then I wanted to go into politics, and I wanted education to be your platform. Right. And I still believe in what my plans were, but of course I went a completely different direction. So
where'd you go off to college?
I pretty much stayed. So Victoria is about 30 miles away from Port Lavaca.
Okay.
And there's the university back then. It was the University of Houston, Victoria.
Okay.
And that's where I went for undergrad and grad school.
And then you got out of college, and then you went to teach?
I did. I taught for 1 year, almost a whole year.
What grade?
It was third grade.
Oh, okay.
I loved it. I was hired, the teacher who originally started with that class, she received an opportunity to teach math at the high school level, which was her goal. And so then I picked up the class basically where she left off, and I loved it. It was back then there was a lot of new brain research going on. And they were using MRI machines in different ways, and they were mapping out the brain differently and making connections between axons and all the different parts of the brain. And so it was a really interesting time to become a teacher because you had all this new information and then these possibilities of where that might take you and new information that might unfold. And so my specialties were in reading and special education.
Okay.
And the classroom that I got was inclusive, so I had abilities that ranged from kiddos that had special needs to a kiddo who skipped a grade.
Okay.
And I loved it. Yeah. I used all the techniques I learned in college and positive reinforcement and differentiated learning and all of this. And they, they improved so much.
Yeah.
And back then, this is a really long story.
No.
Back then, they did the TOS test, and I think it turned to TASP, and then and whatever it is now. So the school where I was teaching, it was a magnet school, and one of the things I liked about it, and one of the reasons I applied there, is because they used different techniques for the style of the learning style of each of the children.
Yeah. Instead of a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly, worksheets and all that. Well, when it came time to do the test, we had practice tests throughout the year. And the first practice test was done before I got there. And so you had a baseline for what they remembered from the previous year and hadn't learned yet. So by the time you take the hardest test, that's an indicator of what they remembered and what they've learned. And their last practice test they had with me was the highest they had ever scored.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just more excitement and more validation.
So, but you only did it a year?
I did, because when it came time to actually take the tests, the administrator had another one of the specialists come into my classroom. They were all afraid because I wasn't using worksheets.
Oh.
And using that technique where you guess and highlight. So you basically do a process of elimination, and then you guess between the choices that are left. And my kids fell asleep. They literally fell asleep while she was teaching me how to teach, which was not right for my kids, right? And then they fell asleep during the test, too. So then we had a faculty meeting, and, they pulled up the average scores for your class for that final test, and they put your name next to that score. But they don't tell you the story behind it. And I got a lot of dirty looks in the room, because my classroom, I had a range of kiddos, and none of their journey, none of the successes that we experienced together were communicated in that faculty meeting. They were just angry because they didn't get the highest score that they wanted, right?
That is odd that they would call the teachers out like that individually.
Because it's a bureaucracy. It's about preserving their own jobs. It's not so much about giving the kids the best education anymore. It's about preserving this giant complex of education.
Let me tell you, when I did those safety and security audits for the schools, I think it was in East Texas somewhere. I can't remember which one. Maybe it was Port Arthur or something like that. But that was when they had that scandal, the Skittles scandal. Do you remember that? Like the teachers were walking by where these kids were taking these tests, and like red Skittle meant like A, blue Skittle, and so she'd look at their class, she'd look at their grade or their paper, and if they didn't have that right, she'd push the right color Skittle. Yeah, because it was all about the scores. It wasn't about learning. It was all about the scores.
And that was that year. I think they had just experimented with it the year before, but that year your funding was determined. Your scoring determined your funding.
So the higher the scores, the more money you got.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just an incentive to game the system.
Right. Well, you'd think it'd be an incentive. It should be an incentive to be more creative in the ways that, but they were so afraid, and they were certain that their system worked better. I'm like, why did you hire me? The thing is, because one of my specialties was special education, I knew how to baseline and how to track and graph their progress, and I kept track of all of that. And it just didn't make any sense to me. So the third grade teachers, the thing is, we were very close, and we helped each other, and we planned our curriculums together. I mean, they were amazing, especially for a first experience teaching. I had the best colleagues, and they were even mad on my behalf. But I said, I'm not going to renew my contract. I'm going back to school, and took the business route.
Oh, is that what you did? So you went back to college and finished and got a business degree?
I did. I went back to 2-3 part-time jobs.
Yeah.
But did you think, though, it was kind of a humiliation tactic, almost what they did to you, and they took a really good teacher out of the classroom, and they humiliated you.
I was so infuriated. That's the only way I could see it. But you're right. That approach to discussing the school's performance really lacked the full story.
Yeah. That's a shame. So you go back to school, you get your business degree. What'd you do after that?
Okay, well, I got to tell you a little bit more about that journey. So the reason I went into business instead of going back, because I could have gone back into education and gone the administrative route.
Yeah.
There were two reasons. One was I realized I didn't understand what was happening on the news. Like, I didn't understand mergers and acquisitions and, the different, like Pretty Woman, for example, that movie. The guy was doing some business stuff. I had no idea what was going on in that movie. So I felt like a few business classes would help me understand the world better, economics, all that, right? But then also I had this dream. I had dreams one night. Okay, let me back up. So I was trying to decide. I knew I wanted to take some business courses, but I was trying to decide the actual degree I wanted to get.
Yeah.
And so I prayed about it. And the first night, I dreamt that I had the other degree in interdisciplinary studies. And this man was talking to me, and they're like, yeah, you're great. You got a great background, but we don't need anybody with that degree. I just don't know what to do with you. And then the next night I prayed again, and the next night I had the same dream, but with different elements. And this time I had a business degree. And the result was positive, which again, a completely different outcome, but still. So that's how I decided. And it was important because the MBA that I got, my school was getting accredited with the same accreditation as schools like A&M, UT, Harvard Business. They have those extra difficulties.
Right.
And we actually, our coursework, a lot of it came from the Harvard School of Business. Back then, online was a new thing, and they were doing something with that institution. But anyway, but it was also a longer program. So instead of a 36-hour program, it was 48.
Oh.
And then I had to take an extra statistics course, which nobody wanted to do.
No,
I know. Who wants to take
So, I mean, it was a huge, that was another year added to the program. So, go ahead.
You got that degree, the business degree. How long between getting that and opening Serasana?
Or just what was the business in between Serasana?
Oh, man. So the main one was I worked for an electric utility.
Okay.
I was there for probably 12, 13 years, and I was so lucky I got to have multiple positions in the same company. I love an interdisciplinary approach to life, and this includes work. And so I loved connecting dots. Like when I was going from an education to a business education, I could see so many crossovers and then so many gaps that could be bridged. And when working at the electric utility, in those different departments and different positions, I love gaining efficiencies. I love organizing. I love connecting dots and helping connect people and tasks so that their jobs are easier. So I got to experience how difficult that can be to do in a well-established institution or business, and also the joy that comes from succeeding at times when you can. It feels like a huge win. Yeah,
it's really hard to break people out of those old patterns that have been established over years and years and years and get them to think about doing something a different way. It's scary for a lot of people. But then, so how long has Serasana been open?
My Serasana has been open for about 7.5 years. Okay. The franchise itself, it was formed a few years let's see, I signed on 3 years before I opened.
Okay.
And the franchise brand had been founded probably a year or 2 years before that.
Okay.
And between the time that I signed the franchise agreement and that I opened, the founder, her name is Patty, she opened a Serasana in Westlake that was there for about a year or so. One of the things they discovered is if you're trying to get a business loan, the bank looks at the history of the business that you're opening, and there wasn't one, and they couldn't use the business that the brand was based on. So they learned that through us, and holy smoke, that was probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
But
was going through the loan process?
Yes. Yeah.
Was it an SBA loan?
No.
Oh, just a regular
traditional
bank loan?
We looked at SBA, and we looked at, I think back then crowdfunding was just starting to gain some. And there's this thing called angel funding. We looked at all different options, and it just, the best fit was really, it ended up being a local bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because just tell us briefly what Serasana is, and then why did you choose that business?
Okay. Yeah. So Serasana is a wellness center. You could say wellness studio. We have yoga, massage, acupuncture. We do energy healing. We do sound therapy and sound baths. Sound baths are one of my favorite things. Craniosacral, like anything having to do with wellness and mind, body, spirit, we touch on that, if not fully offer it.
That's pretty cool. So why did you pick that business?
So I was frustrated where I was working at the electric utility because while I was able to move around, I was not moving up.
Okay.
And I realized those little small wins were so meaningful. You know, I really wanted to feel like what I was doing had purpose and I wasn't having to fight a current the entire time. And I wanted to take an interdisciplinary approach, right? So I wanted something meaningful, something where I could blend learning with what I already knew, and something where I could touch on multiple areas, you know? And so this really, and then also, you know, be able to have a lifestyle that is, you know, fun.
This was the first business you started, right?
Yes, it was my first, but not my first job was a small business.
Okay.
And that was her first business, and that was nothing to prepare me for this.
How did you come in contact with Serasana? How did you even know about them?
Oh, yeah, I love this. So a guy that I worked with at the utility, he went to Sana Vida in Marble Falls, and he knew that they were doing a franchise, and he knew I liked tea, of all things. Okay, so we have a tea bar. And I don't know, I was making my raspberry black tea or whatever, and he was like, hey, you know, there's a wellness expo going on in Marble Falls. You should go. There'll be all kinds of teas, and, you know, I think he mentioned Sada Vida, but I lived in Kyle. I'm like, I'm not going to drive 50 minutes to go have some tea, you know? So, but I had already been looking at what I wanted to do with the next phase of my life and searching businesses. And I was going through this whole process where I would look online and I would find something. I would print out the information, read it, put it in my backpack. And if I forgot about it and didn't look at it for a week or 2 weeks, then I threw it away. And I had narrowed it down. I knew I wanted to do a franchise because they have a higher rate of success, right? And my threshold and my husband's threshold for risk are a little different, so that seemed like a good compromise. And it also helped to give me direction, because since I like multiple areas, it's hard to focus and figure out what path to take. So I got online and I looked up Sana Vida, and I saw this little thing about Serasana, and I read. I was like, what is going on with this franchise opportunity? I read it, and I just connected with Patty's personal story and with all the things that Sana Vita did that Serasana would do. It just seemed to really tick all those boxes. It was meaningful. I felt like my life could be impactful while also ticking all the practical boxes. Yeah. It would be interesting and stimulating. And
overstimulating sometimes.
It is.
Being a business owner.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's right.
Do you consider Serasana to be a yoga studio, a massage place, or acupuncture, or does it just have many different identities?
Yeah, I consider Serasana to be a community of people that enjoy and benefit from those services. So some of our folks, they'll do yoga and come in for massages and acupuncture. There are folks, they just want to come for the sound baths and some yin yoga.
What's a sound bath?
It's like the adult version of a nap, of nap
Sign
time.
me up.
Yeah. So you go into the studio and we have blackout curtains and it's this really beautiful, peaceful atmosphere. And then there's a practitioner and she or he will have crystal singing bowls, maybe some metal ones, maybe some gongs. And they'll just you lay down on a mat and we have bolsters and all blankets, things to just make you cozy and comfortable. And they'll play these instruments and you literally feel, I remember the first sound bath I was ever in, I was on the farthest end of the room and it felt like they were holding the bowl above my body. Wow. I could feel the rotation of the sound waves. And there's a lot of research behind medical and scientific behind sound waves and sound therapy. And so you have sort of this esoteric element where you just know you feel something and you feel better and you come out of there and you're like, I don't know what that did, but I just feel like there's something positive about it. And then you have the scientific and the medical research behind it saying, and here's why. And I love when you get to marry those two. I feel like it's amazing when you can ground the spiritual in the scientific and vice versa. And, you open up the scientific into the spiritual, I guess.
That's pretty wild. That sounds very relaxing. I might have to come and do that.
It is. So, and you just lay there for an hour.
Can you just come in the office and do it every week?
Right.
Do you feel better though? Because
you do.
But I know. But is it because you laid down for an hour?
Okay, so it's a combination. Yeah. And so one of the benefits to a sound wave, depending on what kind of sound wave, and with sound instruments, they're designed to do this, is that it calms your nervous system. It calms your nervous system. It introduces a vibrational quality that's beneficial to biological life, which is you're right.
Yeah.
And so your body and the medical research behind this, I don't remember all the details. Yeah. I can bring the books to our next conversation. But basically, there are multiple benefits. They've studied the benefits in the brain, in your actual cell structure, of course, your nervous system, the different aspects that make you you.
Do you feel like it brings a sense of peace almost to busy people, busy world, busy life, busy families? It just it kind of grounds you, centers you.
Exactly. And I will tell you from personal experience, there are times when I'm so wound up, if I go into a sound bath and my mind is still racing for, 10, 15 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, I'm totally
distracted.
Mm-hmm. But then something happens, and after a while, it just sort of, everything settles down. So even if you feel like you can't make yourself relax or let go or sort of empty out.
That's Steve and I. We need to go do this, Steve, okay? We're going to do this.
Yeah, it's so difficult in this day and age with so many things taking our attention to even... I tried for a while to do 5 minutes of sitting out on the back porch with no phone, no clock, nothing, and just sit there in peace and quiet. And after a while, I had to quit doing it because, it was just, my brain was going and I'm like, I got to start the day early. I still got to take a shower. And so I could see if you could really achieve it and do it for an hour, it'd be very peaceful, be very settling.
It is. I'm going to tell you about a trick that I do because I have that same experience. And I used to meditate. I went my 40th birthday. I went to a meditation retreat. And I meditated every day for at least a year at 5:30 in the morning. It made a huge difference. And now I know how to meditate, and I know I can meditate, but I sit down and I think about all the things I don't want to forget. So someone told me this trick. I don't remember who it was, but it works for me when I'm like that and I just need to let my brain rest. You know, I can't even think about this as doing a meditation. I can't do one more thing. I'm like, I just want my brain to have a break for a minute, you know. I will sit down with a piece of paper and a pen so that if I think of something that I don't want to forget, I write it down.
And then
I
you don't have to think about
I'm
it
like, okay,
anymore.
I don't have to worry about it. And then something else will come up. I'll write it down.
This is while you're meditating? Or this is before you meditate?
What I do is I tell myself, I don't care if it's a meditation. I just need to give my brain a rest.
It's so important and so hard to come by anymore.
You were talking about earlier subtle, in your bio, subtle energy treatments. Explain that. And how does that kind of work with what we're seeing now, and which was kind of one of your fears, which is AI, and how AI is being integrated into the wellness?
Oh, I love this topic. Okay. So this is another way that science is grounding spirituality, right? So you have an electromagnetic field around your person that is measurable. You also have electricity running through your body. You also have, it's electromagnetic light. And then there's like a sound frequencies. You have 4 different types of frequencies that make up your physical or animate your physical body, and that is measurable in a subtle energy way, right? So the thing is, you can introduce an element to your energetic qualities, and they can have an effect on your biological, physical qualities.
Interesting.
Give us an example of that.
Sound therapy.
Okay.
You can't see it. You can feel it, but sometimes you can't. Depends on the frequency of the sound. It is measurable now how it has an impact, and it's observable how it has an impact on your physical body as well as your energy field. Reiki works that way. The practitioner, this is how, there are different people who will describe this differently, and they're all probably right in the way that they're viewing it. The way I view it is you have 2 energy fields that are interacting, and the intention of the practitioner is to help provide you with a vibration or a space or some kind of energy quality that your field can then interpret and go, oh, hey, this will be healthy for me. And whether that's emotional, mental, physical, there's an interaction between the energy fields. And you can talk about thought forms, about emotions, all these things where science is now testing actual energy qualities of those things. So then you bring in AI. I believe that, so that would take us into biogeometry, where...
I had that. I wanted to ask you what that was.
Okay. So biogeometry is the study and measurement, basically, of life force and how life force interacts. Life forces interact with each other.
Okay.
So in the science of consciousness, or the perception of consciousness, these days, the popular perspective is that all things have consciousness.
Oh, okay.
All
Okay.
things?
All things.
Look.
Pencil?
Yes.
Steve.
Really?
Yes.
Steve, Do you see this?
Yeah.
The pendant. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So biogeometry utilizes shape to interact with the energetic qualities in the atmosphere. So you have particles, for example, in motion. And
I'm so lost right now.
okay.
I'm a little lost. I really am. Okay, so like it's how
I don't even know how to ask the questions,
I don't even know
right?
how are
jumped
these
around.
No, I'm just trying to gather it all in my head. First, I guess the first question I have is how are your energy fields measured? Is it through AI? I could see they could measure your temperature or what, but like between Steve and I, right? We're two different personalities per se. We've had different congenital and environmental issues that kind of have shaped all of our energy and all that jazz. But then, like, if somebody is just looking at us and how are you measuring? Because you've got to be able to have to measure, right, in order to treat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe start there. How is it measured?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are different ways. Think about light waves in nanometers. You have red light therapy that has 633 nanometers versus 840 nanometers. 633 is used for skin and wound healing. Huge success there. 840 to I think 845 is used for muscular and bone healing. So
I love red light therapy, by the way. It's
Right.
great.
And even with that, you can measure the force behind the wavelength. So that's measured in joules. So what devices the scientists use, I don't know the names of them, but it's like that.
Okay.
And if you believe, go ahead, Steve.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I could see that they can measure it, and you might feel better in certain situations, but there's too many variables there to say, well, it was the red light therapy, or it was the sound what do you call it? Sound bath.
Yeah.
I think where I know in certain situations in life, I can be in a situation with another person, not even talking to them. I'm standing next to them, and their energy makes me feel really good, or makes me feel very or it sucks it out, or I'm thinking, or just I don't know what it is, but I'm like, this person is not okay. This person is, and I can just feel that from that energy. So, it's probably hard to measure, but I think everybody on the planet knows it exists.
You perceive it.
Right.
It's hard to measure a sound, but you know what you heard.
Yeah. I'll give you a good example. When I'm showing houses, this is weird. When I'm showing houses, I can walk up to a house and knock on the door, and I can tell if there's somebody home or not.
Yes.
I can tell if there's a person in that house. And I've tested it, and I've been right 100% of the time.
I have felt that when we've gone into certain vacant houses, and I've like, oh, I don't. This house does not make me feel good.
Right. Or you're walking around somewhere and there's nobody around, and all of a sudden you go, oh, you know what? You get a little like creep going on. You're like, there's something not right.
You want to know.
So the energy field thing is
100%.
Yeah. Well, and if you think of yourself as a spiritual being inhabiting or animating a physical body, and then there's a natural crossover there too. So so biogeometry is the study of the interaction between energetic, subtle energy, and even biological impacts of those interactions, qualities. Yeah.
Do you? What's your take on Western medicine versus like some of these other therapies? Like, there's a Pandora's box. Let me just open that up.
But there's always there's a place for Western. There's absolutely
I think there's a place, but I
for.
also think that
We're so pharmaceutical driven.
They discount anything that's not a pill or a machine or something. You know.
I mean, honestly, I wish I were advanced enough in my spirituality that I could heal myself of all things. I believe that I have the potential to do that, but I don't think I have the ability to do it yet. So I'm going to need Western medicine for some things that I can't change myself. I always try natural remedies and energetic techniques or natural techniques before I will go the Western medicine route. I believe there are lots of, my mom was a nurse. I think that a lot of people are amazing, loving, wonderful people with amazing intentions that that are working with information that may not be the best for me, but I don't know enough to know what that is. So.
Yeah, and I think that there's a place for the Western medicine. Sometimes, most definitely, intervention is required and absolutely necessary. We were talking earlier about my husband had a heart attack years ago. Well, without medical intervention, he wasn't just going to sit there and bring himself back to life, or you break a bone or whatever it is. But I even just giving birth. You need medical intervention.
What about people, like I have headaches all the time, and I bet you there's a lot of people that have headaches that are stress-induced, and then their first thought is,
why are you looking at me when you say you have stress-induced headaches?
They're stress-induced headaches. But you think, I'll take a Tylenol, instead of thinking, you know what, I need to go do a sound bath therapy and relax and get rid of this tension.
It's a breathing exercise. Yeah,
we've all been trained. Pop the pill, move on with life.
That's right. Yeah. Are you guys familiar with Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza?
No.
He's a medical doctor. His story is really interesting. He was in a severe accident where bones in his back were crushed. And, his only option was he was a surgeon too, I think. But anyway, he was able to figure out how to self-heal by utilizing what he knew of medicine and what he learned about energy. And so you have lots of crossover between physics and biology and the different sciences that are kind of coming together. The first book of his that I read was The Science of Changing Your Mind.
I think I've heard of that.
And at that time, I was having a lot of back pain, and I was like, man, I'm going to do all this. He talks about your cellular memory and how even though you mentally are telling yourself, I'm going to sleep 8 hours tonight. I'm going to sleep it. You tell yourself over and over again, your cells remember something different. And so he talks about how to bridge that gap and how to make that connection flow.
Is this the body has, is that the book?
Superhuman?
No, the body has a, what is the, I have a book, I have the book. The body has a memory, or the body,
I don't know.
I can't remember the name of the book. That sounds very familiar.
Does it talk about issues and tissues?
I don't remember.
So your body also stores memory. Yeah, your biological parts also store memory. Yeah. So now back to your question about Western medicine. I did all the things Joe Dispenza did, and I had a different result.
Oh,
so I had back surgery.
Yeah.
The body keeps score. That's it.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. The body keeps score.
Did you just start reading it?
I've read it off and on because I have the attention span of a fly. So yeah, so I read squirrel. I read things in spurts, but yeah, or I'm a big just kind of go to what I need to read.
Yeah, you go with your intuition, and it's what you need right then.
One of the questions that I had for you is like, for you, what is the go-to self-care that you have for yourself when you've just had too much of other people's energy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I have Reiki. I'll get Reiki or craniosacral therapy. That technique is amazing. They work with your spinal fluid, but they do it using a combination of biological and energetic technique. That's the best way I can kind of sum that up to describe it. But it's similar to Reiki in that it's mostly energetic. But they'll actually put their hands on you.
Okay. So it's not like a massage.
It's not a massage where they're working. Yeah, and I will
get
acupuncture as well. And then I do this thing at home. So I took a course by a man. His name is Dr. Robert Gilbert. And he has a history. He's a scientist. He used to work. He was in the Marines, and he studied and worked in the departments for biological and nuclear warfare. So his background is super interesting because then he took like a spiritual path. So he combines his scientific stuff with his spiritual stuff. And one of the things that he studied was stones. And because you can use different measuring tools to measure different energetic qualities, he could verify what the qualities of those stones were and how they impacted the person who was holding them, a biological life form, we'll say.
Huh.
So you might open a book that says, oh, if it's a green stone, you can use it on the heart chakra, green. That's not necessarily true, because that green stone may not have those qualities. The color indicates it might, but it's not so much the only quality about it. It's a combination of factors. So you could have the mass, you could have where it was formed, you could have the forming process of it, you could have the shape and you can, you know how they create different shapes of gemstones. Yeah. Those shapes have their own effects. So,
because everything holds energy.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So in that energy, we were talking about consciousness and everything being conscious. That energy is the background of where that consciousness is.
You know who's going to love this, that you said that? Holly's going to love this, because she thinks everything in the world is a life form.
Yes.
Every single thing is a life form.
Yeah, and that's what Dr. Gilbert taught as well, just the same as Dr. Kareem with biogeometry. So I haven't answered the question yet. Oh, yeah. So what I do is I'll take particular stones. These are called indigo gabbro, and they have the quality not only of absorbing but also transmuting energy that can be detrimental. It can transmute it, and that's what biogeometry does too, through the use of shapes. Excuse me. So that it becomes beneficial. So it's a great clearing and relaxing. I'll just sit with some indigo gabbro stones for maybe 5 minutes, sometimes less, and I just feel cleared out. And
that's wild.
Well, and if all else fails, you have rocks in your hands, you could throw them at them.
That's
true. Yeah. You remind Sariah, you reminded me of something. You were talking about this guy that was in the military that did all this research. The military has weapons that are sound-based, that they can point them at people, and when they turn them on, they'll make you deathly ill.
They were using those. I guess another government was using those, and a lot of people were getting super
so that
sick
goes
about
back.
that.
You know, the sound, it can be really great, and it can be very harmful.
So on the other side of that, what is something that you've tried that for your own wellness that you're like, you know, even that's a little weird for me. I'm not doing that.
I have a pretty open mind. It depends. For me, it depends on if I think the practitioner is grounded. I want to know that, okay, so here's an example then. There was a visiting practitioner, not from here, who came to town and put together it wasn't really a retreat, but you could call it that. And one of the things they told everybody to do was to, get into the state and then go stare in a mirror. And I was like,
I saw that movie. I'm not doing it.
Nobody say the words out loud.
That's
right. So I think that this person had a good heart and was honest, but I think their information, for me, I like information that's grounded in something, and I believe that people can channel, and I believe a lot of fringe things, but I also want to know that they can practice discernment. So I want to know that they can, if there's someone who believes that they can channel, are they able to discern, or do they think they're able to discern? Are they even interested in discerning between energies or entities that are sort of trickster, or some that really mean well and are helpful? Are they even talking to their higher self? I don't know who they're talking to.
Yeah. Well, you got to realize, though, there are people out there that they're not about taking care of anybody, they're about making a buck, and so you have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, and I do believe in channeling and mediumship and all that stuff, but I'm just careful in I guess particular about the research that I do. And
I want to ask you sort of an opposite question of that. If somebody comes in and say they want to do acupuncture or Reiki or sound baths and they think it's a bunch of hooey,
will
they have less of an experience? Do you have to have sort of a belief to benefit from this stuff, you think?
I want to follow up.
Go ahead.
Because I think it's, and if somebody like myself who is Christian and who I would walk in and I would I'm not even messing with that stuff. I'm not opening that door.
Yeah.
Not doing that. So how are you balancing that kind of?
So, okay, I've already forgotten the first question.
Well, it's sort of is a component of having a good
belief.
experience with acupuncture or sound baths and all of that you believe that it will work.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what I believe and what science says. Science, go back to Joe Dispenza and all the people who've researched all the people. Your belief is stronger than anything physical. And your belief is stronger. If you have a stronger belief than the other person, your belief is going to trump whatever their belief is for yourself, okay? If you, there's a caveat to that. I believe that also that there are certain turning points and certain experiences that we want for our lifetimes or that maybe God wants for us, whether we believe in them or not. And it may not be for us. It may be for someone else. So I believe that will trump what we want or what we believe.
Okay. And then Michelle's question
But that kind of answered it as well because my belief
You don't think there's a conflict there?
No, I feel like for myself there would be a conflict. It's not something that I'm comfortable with opening that channel for myself. And when she talked about discernment, I was like, that to me is a big thing for me. And it's like, when Steve was talking earlier about the energies and you're around people, it was. I can't even describe this. I'm going to tell you this, and I wouldn't necessarily. I was thinking to myself when you were talking, I was like, I'm going to tell this to Steve at lunch, but I'm going to tell this to you now.
All right.
When you said about how the channeling and everything, I got this feeling in my body, like I had the hair on my.
Like a good feeling?
No, it was a disturbing feeling to me.
Really?
Yes, it was. I felt a little disturbed for myself. I was like, ooh.
Interesting.
And that was why I almost immediately asked that question. I almost never jumping in a question like that. But that.
Do you remember?
It was just the talk about the opening of, or how, when she was talking about the mirror and opening up that window, that door, that other realm of something, that to me is maybe, I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm strong enough in my faith and my belief system, but when you saying that my belief would trump anything else, I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
And that's comforting to me. So it's like, okay, it's like somebody's not going to come in there and shove their stuff down my throat.
No, I don't think, I can't even imagine that. But I do think you probably have to believe that you're going to benefit from it to actually get a benefit.
Yeah.
See, the reason I don't is because I've had that experience.
You have, okay.
So the first time I had Reiki, it was because I was curious about what it was. And I felt like I hadn't opened Serasana yet, but I knew from talking to different massage therapists, acupuncturists, that a lot of times they go into energy work too because they experience a crossover with energy and physicality. So I went just curious, and I saw improvement after the first treatment. Now, I chose someone who was Christian.
Okay.
And I read her bio, and I also go by how I feel if I have a feeling. I may not always have a feeling, but I go with my instincts because I feel too that's kind of the conduit to our faith. I believe in God, and I believe that there's an interaction. I don't hear God, but I feel like there are times when I have good instincts, and there's that interaction there that helps to support that.
I definitely do believe in the energy force because there's definitely there's moments when I've been around people and it's like, ooh, this just doesn't feel good. Or also, not to sound like way out of left field, but I used to feel, I haven't done it in a long time, or like maybe I haven't been able to pay attention to it. I used to think that I could almost see someone's color. It was the strangest thing.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend Kathleen, she was like, like somebody would walk in, I was like, oh wow. It started happening around the time of my husband's heart attack. I'll have to be really honest.
So people that were living more full life had a different color than somebody that was really struggling with something?
Well, this is how I would describe it. This is where I really recognized it. Right before Todd's heart attack, every time I would see him, it was almost like he had a spotlight behind him and it was a red light. It was the weirdest thing. Like every time I would see him.
Wow.
And it was the weekend before his heart attack, and I sat him down and I said, I have to, and I never had said it out loud. And I said, I have to tell you something. And I started recognizing, going, oh, I'd see somebody and it looked like they were at a yellow spotlight. My friend Kathleen, she was like, well, what do you see for me? It's like, it's not like, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to see purple. And then I was like, well, as a matter of fact, I think, so.
Are you telling us you're an alien?
I am an alien, but no.
Just we all knew that before, Michelle.
But I told Todd, I said, I see, his heart attack was stress-induced. I was like, I see this red behind you, and I don't know what this is. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but it's disturbing to me. Every time I would see him, I would see this glow. And so, whether that interacted or contradicted my Christian beliefs, I don't know. It was something, I was seeing it, I was feeling it.
Okay, so I have to tell you, there's this book, there's a few books now that this author wrote called Highly Sensitive People, HSP. Are you familiar with this?
No, but I consider myself to be an empath.
Okay, you probably are. She did a study about the brain and people who she labels as highly sensitive people. So, Steve, you were talking, and Michelle, you even mentioned how you can kind of sense another person's energetic quality. There are specific things about the brain and how the brain processes information that enables you to have that experience where someone else wouldn't.
Oh.
So there's even a biological component to the experience.
Yeah. Sariah, you're probably the only person I know that I feel like you see a whole other world that I don't see, as far as, like I'm a facts and figures kind of guy. It's right here in front of me, and this is what I'm dealing with. And you have you're seeing all this other stuff, and now I know you see people in color. It's like all these other things going on, and it's been fascinating as I've gotten to know you, that the things that you talk about and the things that you understand. It's very interesting and kind of scary sometimes.
It is kind of scary when it's happening. Like when it was happening to me, I was very, very disturbed by it. And I remember I was waking up at night, and now you're going to think I'm even crazier, but I've told you this story before. I was waking up at night and I would see this black figure in the corner of my room constantly. After Todd's heart attack, it went away.
Oh my gosh.
It totally went away.
I started having experiences like that when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah. And even into my 20s, there was this townhouse that my dad and I rented. And I had the worst experiences in that townhouse, even in broad daylight.
Really?
Awake.
So there was some kind of energy there that was really bad.
Yeah, there was. And I had an experience the very first time we went to see him, to see the place, but I just kind of, I didn't pay attention to it. I thought, oh, that was weird. But the very first night I stayed there, I remember I was on a blow-up air mattress. I turned over. I was awake. I hadn't gone to sleep yet. And there's a street lamp that shines into my room so I could see.
Yeah.
And I look up, and there's this dark figure just standing there looking down at me.
Jeez.
And I said, okay, that's not a shadow. Definite outlines, like And I said a prayer. In my mind, I said, okay, if I need to worry about this, tell me what to do. If not, or show me what to do, I guess, because it's not like he talks to me.
Well, he does in ways, right? In ways he does.
You got to listen real hard, though.
But if not, let me go. And I fell right to sleep.
Wow.
And that was, I feel like, misleading because the whole year was really tough. And then I moved from there into my grandmother's house. And the very first day I was there, It was the afternoon. I was sitting on the couch. It was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I just sort of spaced out a bit. You would call it meditating today, right?
Yeah.
Back then, I was just spaced out, just sitting there. I had been tired. That was my first day at Granny's house. And I saw my Poppy walk down the hallway. And I saw him twice that day. And he was wearing a plaid shirt, which I had never seen him wear. And I felt like that was his way of telling me, it's okay, you're fine. But I have not had...
He had passed away
Yes,
prior to
he
this.
had.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was 11. And at this time, I was in my 20s. So, a few other things happened in Granny's house that were all positive. But I was so shook up from my previous experience that I just needed all that positive stuff.
My very, very Baptist grandmother, even she said that she had the same feelings. And she would always tell me, if you have a bad dream about something, she goes, I feel like you and I are the same. If you have a bad dream about something, you need to say it out loud when you wake up. Otherwise, it could come true. She used to tell me this all the time. Very Baptist grandmother. So I've always in the habit, and my family knows this. I do this all the time. And when you've experienced this, when I have weird dreams, I have to tell the weird dreams. I have to tell the person. But when you said that about your grandfather, when my grandmother was dying, she was dying on Mother's Day. My grandfather had already died. And I'm sitting there, like I'm looking across at Steve, and I'm talking to her caretaker. And I look at it, my peripheral vision, and my grandfather is standing at the, like plain as day, standing at the refrigerator, pouring a glass of buttermilk. And her name was Violet, and she looks at me and she goes, what are you looking at? And I said, my grandfather is standing right behind you. And she said, she was Hispanic, and she goes, oh, well, he's come to make sure that your grandmother is okay.
Geez,
and so I was like looking at him, and then I look at her, and then I look back, and he was gone. And I felt such peace, but he was standing there as he was standing there. It was the craziest thing.
In
so
full color. Yeah.
Now that we are all... now that our listeners have all done that, we're here to say, but I believe it. I believe it.
I'm sure it happened. It's just I wish I knew the explanation for that. I have a couple questions I want to ask you about the business side of things, but the Dr. No Gadget thing that you have at the...
Dr. No Gadget?
It's the thing with the lights and the frequencies. What's
What?
it called?
Oh, the biocharger.
Biocharger.
Yeah.
What is this?
Do you still have sessions for people? Or
No.
Okay.
So I took it back home because one of my staff members left an electronic device on top of it and turned it on. It caused a fire.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, well,
So I was like, all right, no, I'm going to have to take this home.
What is it?
I describe what it was.
Okay.
I did a session with it, and I don't really remember if I had any positive benefit, but both you and Brandon said you were using it and you noticed big changes.
Yes. So the biocharger is a device that uses all four of those subtle energy types that we talked about in the beginning: light, sound, electromagnetic, and electricity. It uses all four to produce a vibratory quality to bring your body back into a healthy vibration. So, for example, inflammation. I will run a program, and there are different programs. They'll have a mixture of sequential vibrational, like 17, 25, 333, whatever it is, combinations throughout a 5 to 20 minute or even 30 minute session. Most of the sessions are 12 minutes or less. And what it does is it introduces the vibratory quality that you want your body to resonate with. So when you resonate, you match. You always have a signature vibration that's like your fingerprint throughout your whole life.
Yeah.
But there can be overlays. So there'll be an overlay that you'll resonate with, and that will bring whatever's causing your inflammation into a healthy vibration, which will help to heal itself or to modify itself so that it eases your pain. And I have used it for pain.
So are you sitting in it? Or is it
No,
what is it?
It's got a Tesla coil running. That's what the guys most love.
So electricity's going all over.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's about the size of a chair, maybe, in terms of its width and
What is it called, Steve?
Biocharger.
Biocharger.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting.
They utilize Dr. Reif's research from the early 1900s, I believe it was, where he identified the vibratory qualities of every type of medical condition.
Oh, wait a minute.
Have you
I've
seen
seen
it
these before. When we've done, yes, I have seen these several times before.
It's at my house.
Houses that I think I actually saw it at your house one time.
You probably
might
did,
have.
I
yeah.
probably did, but I saw it. It was in a yoga studio that we were selling too. One time we were somebody's
that's
house.
right. They had a yoga studio. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's pretty
I
wild.
didn't realize that's what that
Yeah.
was. Okay.
I love it.
I want to ask you a couple business things. So, social media is huge now as a business owner.
Oh.
There you go. You answered my question. Do you love it or hate it?
I like the connectivity aspect of it. I like to, when I get on to do a post, there are some of our members who are on it, and I'll see pictures of their vacations or their kiddos or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I love you so much, love,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
or oh, I'm that's where she's been for 2 weeks. I can't wait to talk to her about it when she gets back, or, you know. But the other aspect of it is, I just feel like it's a necessity, you know, a way to get the word out, a way to share good information, and kind of stay connected and keep a presence. But it's a lot of work, and there's so many channels now. You know, you've got Instagram and Facebook, of course, and then you have Google ads, and you have
YouTube.
and Twitter, and now TikTok.
I do think people are feeling now this oversaturation, and I think I'm starting to see more and more people who haven't been on Facebook coming
next
back.
week, I'm going to do a story about the new trend amongst young kids is being Luddites. They're anti-technology. They have old style flip cell phones. They don't text. There's no apps.
Oh, this would be perfect for Tate.
They buy real cameras. They don't have a camera.
Oh
on
yeah,
their
Kendall
phone.
bought a camcorder.
Yeah.
Isn't that
So
crazy?
It's sort of a new trend.
I know. My
Yeah.
daughter bought a
Yeah.
camcorder. I was like, do you know how much fun I would have had if I had a recording device on my phone?
You know what's funny though is this trend is because people are proclaiming that they're Luddites on TikTok. So it's like,
well, that's not ironic.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic. yeah. So
I
anyway,
think you just did the story.
I'll do a story
that's
on it
pretty
later.
good.
But one last question. Plants. You have an obsession with plants. What's that all about?
I do. So I used to not. If it didn't have fur and I couldn't cuddle it, I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
I've always loved animals. But so that has to do with my grandmother. I was really close with my granny. And after she passed away, I got her kitchen scissors that she used every day.
Oh.
There was this mixing bowl and a couple things that I picked.
Right.
A couple of pans, and she grew up in the Great Depression, so she was always planting something in the backyard. And it's not like there was this garden and here's the potatoes, and she just had them out there, and I just knew they were there.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, I just saw the grass and the crepe myrtle trees. So after she passed away, I took some of her seeds. And for the first year after she passed, I just felt like she was with me all the time, and I didn't feel like I missed her as much as I thought I would. But the second year, I felt more of an absence. I felt like she was pulling away gradually, spiritually. And so I just was really missing her, and I knew nothing about gardening, but I wanted to plant her seeds. So I did a little research, and I dug out this little 2x8 section in our backyard, and I planted a little fall garden, and it took off, and I felt so connected and so much love. And my dogs would follow me out there every time I went out there because they wanted whatever I was picking, even if it was a radish. You know, our Labrador would eat anything.
Yeah.
But our healer was like, if it's not meat, I'm not
touching it.
Yeah, so I would give Truman a sugar snap pea or a radish, and Milo would be looking at me, the healer, like, you can give me one? And I'd give him one. He'd put it in his mouth, and he'd look at me, and he'd drop it and give me the weirdest look.
Don't
and
you
I'm
have a hot dog tree
I was
or
just going to
somewhere?
say, you got a hot dog tree.
I was like, Milo, that's what it is. Your brother, he'd pick it up, and he'd trot off, and I'm pretty sure he ended up leaving most of them, and Truman ate them, but they would be so happy with me going out there. That just increased my happiness. Cool. And then I got the bug, and I read this book. There was a massage therapist I was seeing before I opened Serasana, and she recommended The Secret Life of Plants. It's a book that was published in the 70s where this guy got bored. The lie detector test had recently come out, okay, and he was just staring at the plant in his office, and he thought, what'll happen if I hook this up to the plant? And he got readings. So he started doing all these experiments. And what's so interesting about this is while this guy in the U.S. was doing those experiments, there was a guy in Japan doing experiments with different technology on cactus. And then there were different people in different parts of the world having their own discoveries around similar topics.
Wow.
And so anyway, this book includes all that information, and it just opened my eyes to my first belief in consciousness beyond the human.
Yeah.
And I mean, just driving to work, I remember looking at the trees and the plants and thinking, wow.
So talk to your plants.
Yeah.
I do.
Talk to your plants.
do. Even if you think positive thoughts to them, their system responds in a measurable way.
So
That's
funny
wild.
story. Yesterday we had shred day here at the office, and one of our coworkers was dumping off somebody's shred into the bin, and this book fell out, and he goes, oh, wait, oh, I didn't mean to have that book in there. And he pulls the book out, and she looks at it to see what the name of the cover, like what book is so important. And the title was How to Grow Lettuce in Your Living Room. Did you hear this story? And she was like, I think that's code for something else. But I think it was so funny when you said that. I thought, well, now I got to figure out how to grow lettuce in your living room.
Lettuce in your living room. Do you have rapid fires?
I have some really quick.
We're out of time, but go ahead.
If AI could help your animals talk to you, what do you think the first thing they would say?
My animals?
Your animals, your two doggies.
How much longer till I get my next treat?
What is it?
Probably true.
What's harder, running a business or other people's emotions?
I don't know that I could separate those.
Okay. And what is your favorite essential oil?
Oh.
That's a tough one.
What's your go-to one? Many?
Wow, these are hard questions. I don't.
They're supposed to be
You know
easy.
what? Okay, I'm going to say bergamot because I love Earl Grey.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the end of my questions.
I can't believe we have to talk about AI next time.
I know
we do. We'll
I
get
know
you
my
back
mind.
on. Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I blew on it. I went on a bunny trail.
No, that's all right. It's been fascinating, though, and I learned a whole bunch about you that I didn't know before, and I'm really glad that we were able to adjust both of our schedules and get you back in here.
Me too. Thank you. This has been so much fun.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Tell us how people can find out more about Serasana.
Oh, yeah. Serasana.com/dripping springs. Serasana.com. It's a combination, basically, of words that mean to be healthy.
Ah, there you go.
So, yeah.
And it's a real easy website to navigate. It's a really great website.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And you're over there in Belterra Village.
Yes, right next door to Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What a great fit.
Yeah.
I bet there's some bad energy coming from there.
I don't know. People are usually pretty happy.
Yeah. Did you want to?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for finally
too.
joining us. We had you scheduled, I think, about a year or so ago, and we are so blessed that you came into our studio, and maybe we'll now go into your studio for some little sound bathing. Because Steve needs to be cleaned and washed
I need a nap for sure.
Yeah, everybody needs one of those.
Yeah, thank you, Sariah. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all too.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
You're
just
right.
Forget,
It
right?
just
You were a natural.
Yeah.
You should have your own podcast.
Oh, no.